I told y'all, I'm on this camera for a reason today because I want y'all to see how I feel about this. I don't want you to just hear me scream. I want y'all to see exactly how I feel about this. So this happened last night. Brianna Wu called in to Now Recording, and it was we thought she was the fake one. We thought she was fake in the chat, and then she called in. So
hello.
What's up, Brianna?
Hello?
Brianna? Yeah, that is Brianna Wu.
Oh.
You didn't think it was me? I'm not a YouTuber, dude. Why would I have, like, that YouTube channel is like my pinball machine malfunctioning and showing, like, clips to technicians. So,
no,
yeah, that's right.
I don't know anything about, I know you were big during Gamergate, so
yeah.
I figured you just had, like, a big YouTube channel or something.
No, I've never been a YouTuber at all.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Well, I just want to warn you, we are not the kind of guys to have, like, the trans conversation with. We're kind of except for Beckett.
No worries. Yeah,
so
I was just listening to your show. Just listening to your stuff.
So if you want to give your, or clarify, you're welcome to.
I mean, like a lot of people, Jenny was telling me she thought that statement came off as defending Keffals, and I think that's fair criticism. I obviously can't defend any of the shit in that video. I contributed to Keffals GoFundMe. It was, disappointing to see how some of that was spent.
that means you got scammed too. That means you got scammed too, Brianna. You did. You got scammed too. I hate to say it, but she didn't use it for what she was supposed to use it for.
So I don't know. I just wanted to say, like, I obviously can't defend that. Don't defend that. I just, like, watching it, I wanted to see a sentence from him, just acknowledging that, healthcare for minors is being dismantled in the United States. And to me, it's exactly like abortion. If you take away women's access to legal action, they're going to go get it in illegal ways. And I think the same thing is true for minors. So, if we're serious about keeping kids safe, because I don't want any of these kids to do DIY hormones, right? We've got to get really serious about funding this area of public policy, if that makes sense.
Can I ask you, like, I would 100% agree with you, but my thing would just be, I just disagree with the money should be spent kind of deal, right? Like,
how do you mean?
I personally don't think, right, that you should allow them to alter their bodies in such a way, right, at that young age. For example, I'm all for funding, mental health specialists, stuff like that, or programs to help them cope with it in that way until they are older and they can, you know what I mean? That would be my approach, but again, I'm not a doctor kind of deal.
So a lot of people think that you can, like, to use your words, chop your dick off before you're 18, and that's just not true. Like, they will do things to stop it from, like, permanently screwing up your body, but, like, the really big stuff, you do have to wait till you're of age, and I think people are just under a misimpression about that.
So I've got some general questions about this whole Keffals stuff. Firstly, so I mean, you said you gave money and you supported, while at the same time a lot of people were calling out Keffals' general actions, her actions towards Destiny. I mean, you seem to be on good terms with Destiny. How do you, like, equate those two things?
Well, one of the things I try to do here is not get involved in drama as much as I can. So, look, I like Destiny a lot. I consider him a friend. I'm friends with a lot of the Orbiters, right?
Okay, at this point, I'm having a fit in the chat. I am caps locking in the chat. And eventually I call in because Matt messages me and go, call in. Will you just call in? Because I was getting angry in the chat. Because what Keffals has done is beyond drama. It wasn't like she was just talking shit about people. She did heinous shit.
And it really seems to me like everybody's been telling me this whole time, like, Keffals has some issues, right? And I've just tried to stay out of it as much as I can, but there's some stuff here that clearly deserves an answer, and I hope we'll get that.
Do you, like, I mean, have you seen, like, Tipster and his interactions with Keffals and stuff? I believe there were some DMs at some point.
I mean, I've seen them interact. I mean, I used to consider Tipster a friend before he started going after me on Twitter and calling me Anna Kasparian. So, I kind of don't know where that relationship is right now.
I mean, you kind of watched him run this defense, and like the DMs leaked in this that he was like he'd have to think about defending Keffals over a allegation, or if Keffals actually somebody. Like, I mean, does that make you? But I mean, does that make you question at all? Kind of like some of the people you've had previous interactions with on that side of the sphere, because like this has been called for years, 100%. And like
I think like anyone that looks at my Twitter can see October 7th really opened my eyes up about a lot of stuff on the progressive side that I've just looked the other way on for a decade, right? And it's at a point where I can't do that anymore. It's like I'm taking a blowtorch to my career and a lot of my friendships. But I'm not going to sit silent on a lot of this just crazy bit anymore. So yeah, and that includes things like this dynamic.
Did you have any other like general going on?
People in chat are asking me, what's your opinion on the whole Catboy Ranch Discord server thing?
So I want to be really honest with you. And so when I watched that video, most of what I was thinking about was the fact that Maya was quoted so closely with that.
She didn't watch the video. She listened to the video. Because when I get up here, I remind her that Keffals was running the Catboy Ranch Twitter. Now, she does what I do. I normally listen to a video and then I sit down and watch it, especially if it's a video that I'm going to react to. Normally, my first playthrough of the video, I'm listening to it while I'm doing like housework or whatever, right? I'm ADHD. I have to do multiple things at once, okay? That's why streaming is perfect for me. And usually the second time around, I actually watch it with y'all.
Maya's a friend of mine, so I was just listening to like Mutahar talk about that dynamic. I'm just thinking like, you don't know Maya at all. Like you're taking the stuff she's saying here at face value and so dead seriously, and you don't know that she's just hilarious, like saying stupid shit. Like she's essentially a 4chan kid, even though she's a like political professional in the Democratic Party. So that was my main thought about that section: how hilarious it was to be taking what Maya was popping off with on Discord so seriously.
Right. Okay. What's your opinion on? Oh, go ahead, Beavers.
Oh, okay. I wanted to ask you. So I understand that not everybody's going to feel the same way.
Sure.
Blah 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 blah. But obviously, I'm not involved in the trans community whatsoever. Right? Outside
Smart,
spectator.
very smart.
Yes. The Mutahar video. Did
Pickleton, the reason why nobody brought up Woo Bucks, because it wasn't the contention of the conversation. The conversation was about Keffals. All that other shit has nothing to do with what we were talking about last night. That's some shit for them to talk about. Our main contention is Keffals. That's why we didn't talk about it. We're not Twitch poll. We're commentary. And what's commentary on right now? Keffals. That's why.
Do you find that video transphobic?
Nope.
Like, no?
Nope.
So obviously everybody can feel differently, but I just wanted to find out for somebody that's, you know, more
there's no
thoughtful.
feeling on that. There's no transphobia there. And there's some stuff I think he could have said a little bit more skillfully, but it's so around the edges that who gives a shit? Like, real talk, like the trans community has got to grow the up and put their big boy pants on or big girl pants on and, you know, accept that, you know, some people are going to have some, not everything is going to be phrased in a way that is like community safe. Like it's absurd, some of this stuff. I thought the thumbnail discourse was silly. If there's a way to draw a trans person to look ugly, which all of Mutahar's videos do, and not have it be transphobic, I'm not aware of one. I think that's just the style and you need to live with it. So yeah, I think that entire discourse is unfounded.
All right.
Nice.
So I mean, like,
I mean, where's even the legit argument
I've joined the chat. You heard me go nice.
that it was transphobic? I mean, he used her correct pronouns.
Yeah.
He, I mean, advocated trans healthcare repeatedly. He denounced transphobia. He kept it focused on the issues. I mean, there's just no legit argument that that was transphobic.
Yeah. Well, so the argument is mainly based on the thumbnail.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, the thumbnail. That's it. Like,
I don't want
see it
to. I don't want
myself.
to blow your mind, but the trans Twitter conversation is sometimes not based on reality. I don't want to. I don't want to upset you, but that sometimes can be the case.
Right.
So we're not crazy then. Awesome.
Well, my last question would be, what's your opinion on Tipster?
I think Tipster has some kind of psychology that makes him a super, super loyal friend, and I think it's part of the reason.
Let me explain it for you, Brianna. Tipster goes where he feels safe. If he thinks he has people that will stick up for him, that's where he's going to go. And then he's going to take on their causes and take on whatever they feel about situations. He doesn't have his own mind. That's Tipster.
Why he's really bonded with Keffals. I think Keffals trusts him, and I think Tipster really enjoys being trusted. And I think they do have a close relationship.
She trusts him until she can't use him anymore. That's what that is.
relationship, and I think that's kind of beautiful because Keffals, like her or hate her, she is someone dealing with a lot of trauma, and I think she really worries. I think she looks for people to surround herself with that she can really trust, and I think they found that together. That said, I certainly have a blind spot with some of my friends, and it can cause me to miss things, and I think Tipster has that in some ways as well.
So okay, this is where I think I'd push back on you, because I don't think that's. I think Tipster desperately wants to have friends. From what I've seen, I don't think that's an out there take. But I think it's like Keffals has shown herself to be, and I think this is why she's a terrible person to have been platformed and pushed as hard as she was, as somebody who doesn't actually give a shit. Like with the Vosh stuff, Keffals was quite happy to throw Tipster under the bus to save her own skin and then run away and leave him to clean up the mess. It's not something you do when you give a shit about somebody. And again, like the signs were all there. So when you've got like in the future, are you now going to look at kind of like people who are, I don't know, getting that bit of activist clout and kind of like more carefully assess like the damage you could potentially do from like platforming and promoting these people? You're not a small voice.
I think that's a really fair criticism. And our mutual friend Jenny has really tried to bitch slap some sense into me lately about being a little bit more critical in how I evaluate people. I think one thing that makes me good at my job in politics is I genuinely see the best in people. And I think when you're trying to lead, you reflect that back on people in a way that makes it's constructive for getting things done, but I clearly have a blind spot at the same time. So I think when it comes to the progressive sphere after October 7th, I'm really having a realization that there's a lot of.
The more she's talking, the more I'm getting heated. I am getting angry. I am so angry at this point because I feel like Keffals is getting nothing but excuses.
Toxic shit that I've just been a part of that is not good for my country. I don't think it's good for your country, and I think we need an honest discussion about this. You can look at my Twitter every day. It's swear to God war. These progressives hate me now, and that's fine because I don't particularly like them either. So I agree with that assessment.
Do you think do you think of the accusations that like in the most uncharitable way, because I want to state slightly neutral purpose of this, like of this Discord being a pink pilling zone of trying to get vulnerable people who may have like other issues going on and being like, hey, have you considered that you're trans, and then pushing them in that direction is a form, like, would you describe that as abusive?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you are opening yourself up to civil and criminal liability there. Don't do that. That's not something, you can't do it ethically. You can listen, like if you're a trans person, you can listen to a child, you can try to relate to a child. I suppose you could try to be a child's friend, but to push them to transition, no, your only message should be, well, you need to go talk to a doctor, like leave that to professionals. That's not appropriate, period.
Okay.
I mean, do you disagree with that? Is there an argument on the other side of that?
That took my question away.
Sorry, Xylie.
No, you're fine. You're doing a great job. I'm listening until I get to my question.
Well, go ahead. Go ahead. I think
Yeah.
Well, here's my other question. It's got to do with Catboy Ranch. When Keffals ran that Catboy Ranch,
Did she run
Twitter,
it? Did she run it?
He was on that that Catboy Ranch Twitter was Keffals.
Okay.
And you saw how that person, which was Keffals, ran that account. They talked highly inappropriate to minors that were interacting with that account.
So
it's in that video.
I'm not trying to be Weasley. I literally, like when I watch long YouTube videos, I don't watch it the whole time. I listen to it, and if that was in there, I missed it. I will rewatch that and ask you about it later.
Sure. It'll be.
So for the sake of this conversation, I will just take what you're saying as true.
Yeah, she talked very inappropriate to minors, and honestly, I think that's the whole reason why she was going after Kiwi Farms, because they already had it logged.
Well, I would say this. I think it is. I think you should.
And I still believe that today. I feel like she went after Kiwi Farms because they already had her clocked. And she didn't want her dirty little secrets coming out. They already had it clocked. It wasn't about doxing. She knew the other site was the one that doxed her. Like heavy, hard. She knew it. She went after Kiwi Farms because they knew her dirty little secrets. She wanted Kiwi Farms to go down so people couldn't go and see what she was up to.
Did not talk to minors in a way that implies anything sexual. I do have to say, so this is one of my issues with Mutahar's video, that if you spend any time in the trans community, it's just an irreverent place. It just is. It's a really incredibly dark sense of humor. We had a friend the other day that was thinking about committing suicide, and we were joking with her because she transitioned that we would like tell people that she was non-binary if she committed suicide. which is a terrible thing to say, but it's just this like dark humor
Right.
that pervades the trans community. It's like people that have been to war, right? Like there's
Oh,
a
I'm
very
in the commentary community. Dark humor is all throughout it. I get what you're saying.
100%. So I think like one of the things that was ironic watching Mutahar's videos, he's taking all these comments so seriously, and I'm just like, I hear what you're saying. Ideally, you should not talk to minors like that, but this just is the community. And like,
Yeah,
I'm
but when
46 and I still talk. I talk like this, right?
Yeah, and I get what you're saying, but you need to go watch that video because there was a picture that she tweeted out with a child like under a desk or whatever talking about big.
Okay. Fair enough.
Okay, I got that part wrong. They were talking about erections. It wasn't technically talking about a big dick. It was technically they were talking about erections. But it was a drawn girl under a desk.
Can't defend that.
Like, I can understand dark humor. I can definitely understand dark humor. Again, I'm part of the commentary community. These guys are rough, okay?
Yeah.
You know, but at the same time, when it comes to children, I'm not playing.
I completely agree. You should stay away from children if you're an adult, 100% with all of this.
I
And
am
it's
not
not a game. It's I think there is a tendency that pervades a lot of online spaces. Excuse me, I'm a little bit hoarse today. I think there's a tendency with online spaces to really dance past real world issues and to treat it like it's a game. And I have to say, as someone who actively avoids lawsuits, like I try to live a lawsuit-free lifestyle, it amazes me some of the things people do and say just because it's so actionable. And, you know, doing this stuff with children, it's just a lawsuit waiting to happen.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, I don't know. It's the last quarter of that video. It has to do with the Catboy rant and up and watch it. Just watch it.
I'll go back and watch that again. I was, 100%.
Because I'm like you. I'll listen to videos first and then I'll watch them because that's what I do. I do react content. So, I mean, I get that, but definitely watch that last half and you'll see the tweets, not just what he's reading out and it's saying. Just watch it because it made me very angry. I was holding back tears. I was so angry.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I guess I'm just saying, like, you know, the trans community is super irreverent, and I think it's really hard to take. I think that you can't take any statement, like, we all agree on the minors issue, but it's just, you can't take all this stuff deadly seriously. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, but I think like you said, you acknowledge that you're opening yourself to a lawsuit, but it's not really appropriate. But I think the difference
And not a
between...
civil lawsuit. I'm talking about going to jail. Like, that is entirely reasonable to imagine the police coming and charging you with, what would it be, corruption of a minor? I mean, shit, poisoning them, like medical intervention. Jesus, I don't even want to think about it. Like, this is, don't do this. Like don't do that.
It's like
I don't know. Maybe not using the 100K for the lawsuit? Depleting it within 2 months? I mean, some people might call that a scam.
the one minor that was taking the DIY, the one minor, their levels didn't even change.
Right.
Well, then something was wrong with something that they learned how to get on the web, you know?
But the point that I was going to make is it's a little bit different. You know, you're saying that, you know, the trans community, at least online, just makes these jokes or whatever. But I think the real issue with it is like, okay, I'm in the commentary community. I tell some really f***ed up jokes sometimes, right?
Sure.
But I don't interact with minors.
No, I don't either.
Right. That's one of the issues with that is you make jokes like this, you do things like this, and then you're trying to be a safe haven. A lot of them. Right, and it's not appropriate.
I think that's fair. I think it's challenging. You know what I think?
She was literally in a Discord. That literal grooming was going on.
The kindest thing I would say here is Twitch does have an extremely young audience, right? And I think it's got to be really challenging to be a public figure. Like I have a member of my family that's a huge Keffals fan. She transitioned, a long time ago. You know, she was underage, and it's like that just is kind of the people that are going to be reaching out to talk to you. So, like I said, I didn't see this part of the video. I can't assess if it's true or not, but I think it's probably got to be challenging for anyone on Twitch to avoid interacting with minors. That would be my guess.
On Twitter, though?
I talk to people all day long on Twitter. I don't know how old they are.
Okay. Well,
But I also don't tweet stuff at strangers.
Yeah,
because I've been married for
exactly.
16 years.
Also,
on that one.
but these stories coming out of like leftist discords, and like to keep this simple for people who don't know Twitch poll as well. But like you and I both know names of people who have had a wide range of accusations against them of having minors in their discords with no role control, sometimes actually actively knowing that they're minors, sharing not safe for work art, having sexualized conversations. And this isn't new. This isn't like Catboy Ranch is like unique in this way. But like,
Right.
so again, like I suppose like one of the things that's being thrown back towards you with like, oh well, Keffals now is somebody who you can say this about, and I know that you've had this thing since October. But it's also that's a lot to overlook, right? Of different discords and communities that have been running.
Yamato says the worst part about this is that it fuels narratives about trans people that aren't true, and the fact that she did these things, they'll point to her and said it's C because of this person. Yes. She is working directly against her own community.
For years, seeming to have these inappropriate conversations and relationships with minors. So, and this is, you know, again, why people are going to say, well, are you just going after Keffals because you dislike Keffals at this point? You dislike Tipster at this point?
I don't think I'm going after Keffals or Tipster here. You're asking me questions. I'm telling you my opinion on it. You know, it's not really I don't think I've said anything that should make Clara feel attacked today. You know, as far as this issue, I think Discord servers in the aggregate have a really big problem with lack of moderation. You know, it's like you've got a YouTube star, like they start off, it's essentially a teenager or a young 20-something shooting out of their bedroom with some shitty $20 lights from Amazon, right? And then they're trying to build a Discord community, so they loop some people in to act as moderator roles. You're desperately trying to find good people. They're all volunteers. No one is getting paid. It's not surprising to me in a system like this that the outcome is very, it does not have a lot of oversight for minors. So like it almost feels to me like Discord itself, the product, has a role to play in this. Like it's not engineered in a way to make that safe. Like you're essentially trying to scale communities without any protection there. So I don't think Keffals has a monopoly on any of this.
Okay, well, I'll hand over to Muda.
Well, yeah, Muda just joined us, so I think we'll just hand it over to him.
Hello.
I just kind of slid.
Here we go. So, yeah, we were saying, Muda, get in here. Nick, get in here. And then Keemstar was in the chat coping because he wanted to come in, and then he finally got in.
I just got home this whole weekend. I'm out in like in Pennsylvania and shit, and I just managed to. I got home like I want to say like 30 minutes ago.
Right.
But yeah, so shit's been a wild weekend. You know,
Yeah,
I'm
I can imagine.
transphobia. So.
I
Dude,
really liked. I enjoyed your video, and
I will say, like, I read through messages that you sent me just now, and I kind of want to talk about like the DIY HRT stuff a little bit,
Sure.
just to kind of like correct, or not just like sort of establish more. I would say flesh out what my thinking is.
Go ahead.
I am somebody that is very much a live and let live kind of guy, right?
Sure.
My only problem with any of this kind of stuff is, I talk to 3 medical practitioners primarily, and Dad, my wife. You know, they're all people that will say anything DIY, any type of medication, they don't recommend, right?
Sure. I
That's
don't
the
recommend
only-
it either. 100%.
And my thing is always, so people kind of look at any video I make with the lens of U.S. politics, which is why I also bring U.S. as I mentioned. But my view on this is very much from like a Canadian perspective, which isn't perfect, but it's certainly a lot better than some states in the United States for sure. So my thing is, look, as long as something is 100% safe, and I guess one of the things I probably should mention is like gender dysphoria, these things are real, valid, like classifications. Any doctor will say that.
Sure.
I just wish that there was a system, and it's one thing I advocate for, is like, if you want this to be accepted and legal and no issues, then that's the only hurdle to cross. I don't think that until then, there should be.
Okay, here's another thing, too. Some people were getting on Mutahar saying Mutahar was too soft on Brianna. Not everybody can go hard on people. Mutahar's perfect position is being good cop. That is his perfect position. That is the position that he shines at. He is good cop. And for anyone who said the Mutahar was too soft, I disagree with you 100%. I do. I disagree with you. Because he came in with facts and logic.
Be any form of, or you know, there shouldn't be the other extreme end that should be promoted, right? Like,
Oh my God, no.
You know,
100%. Yeah.
like we shouldn't be throwing the toaster oven in the bathwater and like playing Risk. But I do think that there should be some middle ground. There should be some discussion. There should definitely be like a state agency or doctors getting together to do more research on this kind of stuff and coming to a thorough conclusion.
Sure, Mutahar, but this is a minor criticism, right? Like directionally, I don't have a problem with anything you said in the video. And you're right, this is a U.S.-centric point of view that I'm giving to you. But it is, swear to God, political war on trans children right now. Even legally, through gender clinics, there's a massive operation to shut all of that down. And I want to be really clear. Like, I don't think the system is working very well. I think it needs to be overhauled. I think the safeguards that are in place are not functioning very well. I was really astonished with one study that showed only 79% of people going to gender clinics and getting HRT.
Jack, you are 100% correct. Muda and Nick are the perfect good cop, bad cop duo. Just look at the Mama Max call. 100%. 100%.
Meet the WPATH standard, which blew my mind. So, like, it's clear something's got to change, but I just felt like there's this context in your video that you're criticizing DIY, and I think from the trans community's point of view, it's like the Democratic Party is not making, like, trans healthcare access a really big priority, right? It's under attack by the Republicans. So I think trans people are going, you know what? Legal help to get all this stuff is not here. We're going to have to turn to illegal stuff. And that's just the context I thought was missing from your video, which I think is a pretty nuanced, like, criticism.
I mean, look, I can see that angle of it for sure. It's just, honestly, it is tough from any perspective to like sort of bring the DIY. It's hard to like, I guess, sort of watch that for Because here, look, I have brought the reason why this video also took really long to make is I've kind of been like testing, I've been focus testing with the people in my life, friends, family, whatever. And I brought up this idea, and never has. It's always sort of brought fear, especially amongst like new parents and everything too.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where, like, how do you bring this kind of topic up, and how do you introduce it? Like, and then you get into other extrapolations, like, hey, if we allow this, what about that?
Yeah, this is the one thing that was irritating me is this discussion really needs to be around Keffals. But it got back to Keffals. Once we get past this part, it got back to Keffals.
Drugs, whatever. Like, it's such a massive like minefield. So it's like, for me, and look, the trans people that I've talked to before making this video, one of them was Cherry, who I used some of her messages in it. The whole discussion was, look, when you're under the age of like 18 or something, right? When you're like, I guess, a kid, you eventually go through a change in your body that can't be reversed. And if you never wanted to have that change to begin with, well, now you're just stuck in some way. So it is such a minefield, quagmire thing that trying to have a healthy discussion about it, which is not, again, the central focus point of it. My whole focus point was, hey, listen, if you're going to get on Discord and start introducing this kind of stuff, I really feel like parents, governmental agencies, every party should be involved. And look, I know the world isn't perfect, right? Like, if you brought this stuff up to like a family in like, conservative land who they would never even want to hear the LGBT stuff coming out of their kids. That's a risky subject, but it's still not something. It's such a legal it's such a weird situation. And every single aspect of talking about this involves so many different parties that I don't know. I never.
I fully agree with you. And let's be really clear: for a lot of trans activists, their message to those parents with good faith questions is "shut the fuck up." Right? That's not a political answer. That is we've tried to do that for a long time, and parents don't like that. It's really normal for parents to have questions like, "Is this a phase that my child is going to grow out of? What are the effects of this going to be?" And I think the trans community's tendency to frame this like you either give your child HRT and let them transition, or they're going to commit suicide. Well, that's not. It's a lot more complicated than that. So I want a far more sophisticated public policy conversation with every single part of this. And the extremes on both sides are making it absolutely impossible. Go look at my Twitter. Like yesterday, I had TERFs screaming at me all day and trans activists screaming at me all day for saying, I think we should talk about gender-neutral bathrooms less and universal healthcare more. So I hear what you're saying there. It's just, this is a political reality that there are a lot of really desperate trans kids out there. They're going, oh my God, if I don't get HRT, I am not going to be able to pass and my life is going to be much harder. That is a very, very reasonable fear. And in the same way we need to have an answer for parents, I think we need an answer for those kids, and it's going to be a lot of work.
I think that's something everyone can agree on, and I'm glad that we brought up the extremes on every angle because it makes talking about such a contentious issue that much more difficult. I think like one of the things I said was like, hey, listen, a lot of the arguments, especially when it came around like sports stuff, right? Like we're taking a fringe issue out of a fringe issue, and we're bringing that into the center table. Like no one's going to win in that department, right? Like, so I don't know. There's a lot of things that I guess I don't know. That's where my mind sort of stands. That's where I come out into. And I think the weird part is like any form of, I guess, discussion about this. It's like if you're not 100%
okay.
most.
So I want to get to the Keffals part. Hold on.
Yeah, if I could I ask you a question? So you've been a supporter of Keffals for a very long time. I've seen you supporting her entire.
Okay, the one thing I am happy about Keem, he brought it back to Keffals. Keem brought it back to Keffals. What we should have been talking about this whole time was Keffals. So one thing I will say that Keem did good was Keffals.
Yeah, if I could I ask you a question? So you've been a supporter of Keffals for a very long time. I've seen you supporting her entire career.
Sure.
How come you haven't noticed the lies, the manipulation, the gaslighting? How come you haven't noticed this stuff on your end?
I don't want to, I didn't want to come on stream today and start a public beef with Keffals. She's dealing with enough with this video that's coming out. I think she should answer Mutahar your video. She should hit it head on, address those criticisms. I will say that I see people.
I'm growing a game. My bad.
My thing with any criticism to my video, before I even get into it, I don't really foresee any logical response you could make to counter any of the points I made in the video because a lot of it, this required so much research. I didn't make this video to make somebody look bad. It's just what they've done is actually terrible behavior.
Sure.
I do believe the only salient response that she can provide and give is to probably refund that money or put it towards actual transgender causes because one of the points in the video was like, hey, listen, this is already a community that lives in poverty. I mean, I have seen people who have been in the LGBT community who gets kicked out of their homes. They're effectively homeless, right?
And here's the sad part. She's broke. She can't. Keffals is broke. She can't do either one of those things.
And, if you live in a city like Toronto, right, which is like LA, New York levels of prices, these are people that effectively go homeless because of, whatever that they've been born with, right? And people can have a discussion or whatever all the time about what is valid and what isn't. But this is a community that is already living, a lot of people live in abject poverty. Most people, in this community, look, you either find some of the richest, most educated gay people that are making good money, right? Like my brother-in-law works for a good firm, educated from a great place, one extreme end or the other. There's never an in-between. Families are either they can set you for success or they can ruin you, right? You get kicked out of your house at 16, not a lot of options. So in that community, that needs to be reimbursed for them, right? Or at least some form of transparency. And the other thing is, it's what the behavior that she has showcased is exactly the kind of behavior you hear about on Twitter, I guess a lot of these right-wing circles about like, hey, groomer behavior, so that needs to be rectified. That needs to be like
Yes.
properly discussed because it makes the whole community look so bad.
Yes.
And the people that I've talked to, look, most
Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Keffals is literally damaging her community. She is. And I'm tired of people like Denims. And quite frankly, Brianna, you were one of them too, until today. People not calling her out. For the longest time, you couldn't give not one iota of criticism to Keffals without somebody calling you transphobic. You couldn't do it. And that was the worst thing to be called on the internet. Because if you are called transphobic, then you are automatically canceled. And you know what? People are sick of it. That's why I dare people to try to say I'm transphobic. I dare you. I 100% dare you. Keffals is a bad person and she needs to be called out. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I'm tired of her standing, hiding behind being trans. I'm tired of it. She has done evil things. She has done really, really, really bad things. And she needs to be called out for it. And I'm tired of her hiding behind the fact that she's trans. Or because she's on the left, as Denim says, because she doesn't call out anybody on the left. Yeah, well, Denims, you need to be next.
properly discussed because it makes the whole community look so bad. And the people that I've talked to, look, most of them just want to live.
But yeah,
Most people
that's
just
my
wanna
issue.
live.
Why isn't there self-policing in this community? Like,
I completely agree.
Brianna Wu, like you've seen all this stuff firsthand. I'm not understanding why it takes Mutahar to go and make the video. Mutahar's not watching every Keffals stream, not paying attention.
Will,
I gotta-
those
I
people-
have
Real
to
quick, the
push
stream
back on
died. Real
this.
quick, the stream died. Just so you know. Sorry.
We're working on it. We're working on it. We're working on it. We're working on it.
Be back.
Okay, so between the stream dying and coming back, between that you heard the bloom thing, Nick gave an amazing speech. He really did. The whole time the stream went down, Nick gave an amazing speech, and I am so sad that, I'm so sad that it didn't get caught. I really am. Because, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember what he said, but I remember thinking to myself, yeah, Nick, get her, Nick, get her. Nick was so good at that point, and I can't remember what he said, or else I would tell you.
Back in a minute.
We're good.
Okay, I have to push back on that because I do know Keffals. I don't think she sits there and actively thinks she's better than everyone. And in fact, I think a lot of people really misunderstand Keffals. I genuinely do. Keffals is traumatized from the things that have happened to her in the last few years. She's not.
I am here to tell you, my audience, you can see, there's a reason why. There's a reason why I'm on camera today. I want y'all to look into my eyes. I don't give a about Keffals' trauma. I don't care. There have been people who have been through trauma. I've had trauma in my life. I didn't scam people out of $100,000. I didn't make a meme out of naming my Discord Catboy Ranch after the original Catboy Ranch that was literally grooming minors. I didn't talk inappropriately to youngins on Twitter. Look me dead in my eyes and tell me if you think I give a shit about her trauma. I don't. Because that trauma has nothing to do with her shitty behavior. And when Brianna said this, I almost hit the roof. The only reason why I didn't just start spurging out was because Nick and Muta were in there. And I'm like, nope, let them handle it, let them handle it, let them handle it. At this point, I had to mute myself in the Discord because I was ready to go the f*** off. Her trauma. I don't care about her trauma because Keffals doesn't give a f*** about anybody else but herself. And I dare anyone to prove me wrong.
Keffals is traumatized from the things that have happened to her in the last few years. She's not faking that, okay?
But it's hard to believe
Hold
that.
on. I want to finish what I'm saying. And
Oh, God.
it causes her to make decisions that a lot of people around her are encouraging her to make different decisions, okay? And I'm going to be honest, I see a lot of
He
myself in
potentially
Keffals.
stole a lot of money. Come on. She potentially stole a lot of money.
Please.
When I think I was 22, I found myself in rehab in the exact same way Keffals did, poly addiction. I was a mess. And I think all the time, what if in that period of my life, social media had been around or I had been a YouTube star? Holy crap. I mean, I'm not justifying everything that she's done. I'm saying it is context. She's not lying about being traumatized by what happened with the police showing up to her house. That really hurt her.
No, but she is lying about the money. And that's a really big...
Okay, she's not lying about the traumatization of the police showing up her house. Which story? The one that she woke up with guns in her face? Or the one that they let her, because she was sleeping naked, so they let her change her clothes? Or the one that she didn't talk to him until she went outside? Which story with the police? Because she's told 3 different versions of it. Or are we going to go with the latest one where they misgendered her and used her dead name when they arrested her? Which one are we going with? Which one? Because she's changed the story 4 different times. Or the one that she was groped. Which one? Which one are we going with? What traumatization? Which one?
deal.
And she did lie about the cops.
No,
she lied about certain aspects of the
Here's the
cops.
thing. I definitely can agree. This is where I'm a push back here. I've said this. She's probably on drugs, right? Whatever, coke, meth, benzos, whatever the hell it is. I can understand somebody being addicted to drugs and being in a really dark place, right?
I'm gonna be honest, I don't give a fuck about that either. Out of everything she did, listen, if you're just walking around and you're just an asshole, I can have that empathy for you. If you're just a jerk and you say stupid shit, I can have that empathy for you. Look, they're on drugs. I can even empathize with trauma at that point. But for what Keffals did, that empathy is out the window. I no longer have it.
Sure. There have been places where I've been that have not been the best, okay? Over the last 10 years, there have been periods in my life where I've had severe downs. But that I never can think is an actual excuse for financial mismanagement of this degree. And again, even if somebody is going through a lot of drug stuff too, that doesn't excuse terrible behavior or interaction and outright lying about interacting with certain communities, running some of these Discord servers. People have said that mischaracterizations. Anybody that hasn't watched my video said hey, listen, the way that you portray her as groomer. I never said she was groomer. I said interactions with a minor using the Catboy Ranch Discord server, Twitter account, or whatever. Those were signs. Those were not good things to do. Any other person in that situation.
Nobody's called Keffals a groomer. Even I only say where that Discord, there was actually grooming going on in that Discord. Never said Keffals was a groomer. I said she spoke inappropriately to minors. She literally took advantage of people. And through her activism, she took advantage of vulnerable people. And that's the lowest of the low to me. And then when you already vulnerable people, and then on top of that, kids, that's when you lose all empathy with me. We already have a problem with transphobic people running around saying the shit that they say. When you see somebody of that community taking advantage of their own people, it's gross. It's gross. And at that point, I do not care about you. I do not care about your trauma. I don't care about your trauma. And I don't care about your addiction. Because you are a foul human being to me.
Would be thrown under the bus.
Yes.
And these are things that are ultimately net negatives. These are things that shouldn't have happened. Yes, people can go through terrible, rough times, but we've got to look past a lot of the rough times that she's had, because there is no salient excuse for some of the serious financial mismanagement and of course some of the outright lies and mischaracterizations and the way she's acted in general over the last 2-3 years.
So I want to respond to that. Hold on.
Just one line. You basically said, Brianna, she was in a dark place. That's what you said. But
yes.
Okay,
Yes.
So I hear what you're saying, Mutahar.
Keem's not wrong. Keem's not wrong. Brianna literally sat there and said she's in a dark place. You know how we meme about that in this community? I was in a dark place. We meme it because so many people have said it before. That's literally what Brianna was saying. She's in a dark place. I don't her dark place. I don't care. She didn't give a about those people when they gave her money. And she was buying IRL streaming gear. She didn't give a about them. She didn't give a about the people she's doxing in people's DMs. She didn't give a about what it looked like when she was tweeting out what she was tweeting on that Twitter. She don't give a about nobody but herself. And Tipster, you're an idiot because she don't give a about you either, homeboy.
I think what you're saying is dead on, and it's fair. I think there are two roles here. You are critiquing Keffals, the public figure, and her public actions about what she did with public money. God bless. Like, your video had some very salient criticisms. I think I really welcome that kind of scrutiny being brought to this stuff, and I think it was entirely appropriate. What I would ask y'all to understand is I've been on Keffals' stream, once? Like 90% of my interactions with her are as a friend of someone who has gone through something kind of similar. And that's my dynamic with her. So does that make sense to you? It's just, I feel like I have a different role.
Was she traumatized when she talked to the kids like she did on Twitter?
We've already talked about
that. Thank you. She wasn't traumatized because that was before the cops knocked on her door. I meant what the I said.
Was she traumatized when she talked to the kids like she did on Twitter?
We've already talked about that.
Was she traumatized? Yeah, but was she traumatized then? Because that happened before the cops.
We've already talked about this. I don't defend that.
I listen, I understand what you're saying, that you had like tough times too, and I'm glad you got through them. But if you made a decision like Keffals had made to basically scam $100,000 on GoFundMe, like you're talking, this is a person who says they're in danger and they bought IRL streaming equipment to go to a place where Kiwi Farms had a bomb threat.
Sure.
Okay, this is like beyond, like, you have to understand.
And the other thing is too, sorry Nick to cut you off, if you are under risk, right, and you feel that your life is in danger, going to places like Twitch San Diego and putting the lives of other people in danger is also never a good thing to do. I mean, this is somebody who at the time was, I guess, one of the most polarizing figures to go to like a massive event where,
Was she really worried about being doxxed? No, she wanted to be a martyr. She wanted to be doxxed. She wanted to be doxxed so she could be the fucking victim. You know what victims get? Money.
I guess bad things could have happened. That is not like that. These are exact signs of somebody that knows they're in a far better situation than they're letting on in the public sphere.
She has a whole career of lying, and just manipulating her audience over and over and over again. I mean, you can't support someone like that.
You're not wrong, but what I think about is all the mistakes I made during Gamergate. And, it has taken me a long time to come back and basically fix my reputation from that. I was traumatized. The death threats did get to me. I made decision after decision after decision that was incredibly stupid. And I can see that now because I'm past that trauma and I worked with a therapist to get past it. I know what it's like to be in the middle of that and to make bad decisions. So again, look, your criticism is fair. It's just, I personally have a different assessment based on my own experiences that give me a little bit more compassion for decision-making that I think we would both agree is very bad.
I just wish you made the video on Keffals. I wish you exposed Keffals, not me though. I do. I wish that your own community policed itself.
Sure.
That's what I wish happened.
I mean, I'm more frustrated with the lack of acknowledgement. This is not personal to you, Brianna. But
Sure.
It's more or less just the trans community just can't take a W on this. We have to have discourse over a thumbnail. We have to talk about who drew the thumbnail. We have to talk about legislation. I understand the legislation problem. Don't get me wrong. It's you go on a Twitch panel, you can't escape it. It's one of the main subject matters that I see discussed on stuff like this. But I feel like it's not a prerequisite when you're in a situation as bad as this to just openly criticize. Because obviously, your stance on DIY hormones is different than mine and different than Mutahar's, but I don't think we disagree.
Is it different? What is the difference between our positions? I don't hear any difference.
Are you for DIY hormones for
No, of course I'm not. I think I've said this. It's very bad.
That's my mistake.
Okay, let me say this really explicitly because I don't want anyone to misunderstand this. I don't support minors taking DIY hormones, but exactly the same way that women have back alley abortions, minors are going to take DIY hormones if we don't build a system. If you're serious about stopping minors from taking DIY...
Saggy? I think she is. Starting to wonder if Keffals is a low-key narcissist. I think she is. And I think she's highly manipulative. And because that community doesn't self-police, the assholes have to come in and do it. Because they can't self-police their own. Oh, they're on the left. We can't call them out. They're trans. We can't call them out. No! If they're doing bad things, call them out. Do you not understand? She is a trans activist. She is an activist. Over 150 articles were written about her and her activism. And she turned around and did all this? What? Do you not understand how bad she makes the community look? She needs to be called out. I agree with Keem. I wish it was Brianna making that video. I wish it was somebody in that community making that video. She needs to be called out by her own. But they won't do it. Because they're too scared to get canceled.
Hormones, you've got to give them a healthcare system that will deliver for them. I'm talking about outcomes. Does that make sense to you?
Yes. And I understand what you're saying, but I'm telling you, like, it makes, like, people can't condemn what is obviously bad. That discourse is not allowed to happen in this community. We have to look past that, and that just makes the community look worse as a whole.
This is a problem with progressivism. It's not just trans people. There's no self-correcting mechanism in the progressive space, which is why you've got these nut jobs praising Hamas and pretending that the October 7th didn't happen, right? It's
you know, here's the funny part. I keep joking that these people, and when I say these people, I mean people like Hassan, people like Vosh, you know, people like that. I keep joking that they're going to be the reason why I make a video saying the reason why I left the left. A lot of my views are on the left. But what has happened on the left is they have overcorrected on the online space. Not normal people, okay? Normal everyday people walking around, it's a different world. But on Twitter, on YouTube, on Twitch, they have overcorrected to the point they don't call out their own. They don't self-police because they're too worried about getting canceled. They're too worried about being called transphobic. They're too worried about being called homophobic. They're too worried to be called racist. That's the problem with them. That's how you end up with Keffals doing what she's done for years and never getting called out for it. Meanwhile, they contribute to that fear by brigading. Yes. Yes, that's exactly what they do. They do. That's exactly what they do, Zane. They do contribute to the fear by brigading. 100%.
And crazier and crazier, and it's not even about any public policy anymore. So I share your assessment. Like, where's the self-policing from the community? It's a huge problem. It's got to change. It's causing us to become the left-wing version of Gamergate, and you just can't. I can't look the other way on this anymore.
I gotta go, but here's my final statement on this. This isn't a trans issue. This whole thing, Keffals, has nothing to do with trans, right?
Yes.
It's literally a content creator, like all of us who are content creators, who lied, who manipulated, and who potentially stole thousands of dollars from their fans, right?
Yes.
That's the story here. And every pushback tries to turn it into, oh, this is transphobic and this and that. Like, every response to this is pure manipulation. People from your community, Brianna Wu, need to stand up for facts and truth and get rid of the bad actors, because it makes the whole group look bad, especially when they're defending, the thumbnail's transphobic and stuff like that, stuff that no one will agree with. No one can look at that thumbnail and be like, oh yeah, Muta is being transphobic. No one's coming to that conclusion. It makes everyone looking bad. She is toxic, and everyone needs to run for the hills. Supporting her means going down the toilet with her.
And I want Keem W in the chat because he is 1,000% correct.
Just a quick thing. Sorry,
Say something real quick.
Please.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Xylie. Go ahead, Xylie.
All right, I want to say this, and I'm gonna okay. Listen, I understand you.
I was seething at this point, so I had to like take a breath before I said it. Okay, I was seething, and I couldn't hold it in anymore.
Okay. Go ahead, Xylie.
All right, I want to say this, and I'm gonna okay. Listen, I understand you saying that she has trauma, but I can't get past that because I feel like you're giving her the pass and the excuse for what she's done by saying that. That's literally what it feels like.
What am I specifically excusing today? I've acknowledged a ton of things that have been mistakes. I'm saying for me personally, Brianna Wu, the individual, I have an assessment, and it gives me some compassion for it. I said Muta's video is entirely fair. I said she needed to answer it. I said any number of criticisms here are fair. So what am I defending other than saying I personally have experience that gives me some compassion for this?
I'm going to be honest. She doesn't deserve any compassion. She doesn't. She doesn't deserve any compassion because that's given her a pass. She needs to answer for what she did, every little bit of it.
Okay. I think Keffals needs to take a long step away from public life. I did this after Gamergate. I got my head on straight, and I think as long as she's in the public eye, I think it's just going to keep getting worse. I think the kindest thing she could do for herself is to take a long break.
Okay, so this is one of the things that, like, there are so many warning signs with people like Keffals. And it's not just Keffals. I remember at the time there was this like big conversation of, well, and it's a video. I use myself as a lightning rod, and I think that is bollocks. Like, Keffals used her community not as, like, she wasn't a shield for it, she used it as a sword. And, like, members of her own community were getting doxxed, were getting, like, put on blast, whether it was Twitter, Kiwi Farms, whatever, because she was encouraging them to put themselves at risk. And I know when it's like, well, Keffals is going through trauma, but isn't there I feel like there's almost a wider conversation there with the fact that, you know, people weaponize their communities and are calling it activism. It's not activism. It's just bludgeoning people that they dislike. That's what the whole ratioing.
That's Keffals. Beckett literally explained Keffals perfectly. It's not activism. She was a bully at one point. Remember when she was at her highest mark of clout? And she was ratioing people, and you couldn't say one bad word about Keffals, or you may lose your platforms, and you will be called transphobic. She was a bully. I'm sorry, I can't stand a bully, and it pisses me off that Worm got bullied off the internet over this shit. Because Gayfesh got it wrong. Because Gayfesh was a idiot. I told y'all, I'm on this camera for a reason today because I want y'all to see how I feel about this. I don't want you to just hear me scream. I want y'all to see exactly how I feel about this.
Thing was in the first place. And, like, not to mention, like, the way Keffals acted towards that community. Like, I remember the ban trials, because she used a bot to mass ban everyone, and then people had to plead in the messages to get back in, and then, like, that got turned into content. And when you see creators do that and they get a pass, like Hassan and everything else, it just seems like there's this double standard when you label yourself an activist, which is incredibly frustrating to watch happen.
Well, it's not invisible. I watched Denim say we're going to be talking about a thumbnail today because I don't think it's worth critiquing
Bro,
someone.
the reason she did that was because she absolutely hated me on the Israel-Palestine thing. That's why. She was, like, already biased.
She literally came out and straight up said, I will not be covering this because I don't think it's valuable to criticize a leftist content creator. It's out loud.
Hey,
That's
listen,
crazy.
what does Keffals do when she gets any kind of criticism? She'll fire up a stream how she was or something. That's what she's going to end up doing.
Yep.
And deflect. That's what she's going to...
And I meant what I said. I meant what I said. I know that sounded harsh, and I kind of almost felt guilty about saying that. But it's true. It's what she did. And Nick tells you he would have checked me, but it's actually something she did at the Xander Hall.
All right. Normally I would say it's out of pocket, but she did kind of do that to Xander Hall. That clip is crazy, dude. That clip was crazy. What was the quote? Like, I have to relive this because Xander Hall retweeted someone. Like, I don't know. That was a little wild. And keep in mind, this is around the time when Xander Hall got the screenshots that she was talking about how she just loves doxing people in private.
Yeah.
Here's a really honest question. You know, I feel like I've gotten to know a lot of content creators over the last 2 years, and to some extent, everyone here is mentally damaged, right? Like it's amazing to me anyone actually wants to be a content creator.
True.
Because it does take a toll. The drama cycles take a toll, getting screamed at
You know what? And that is true. We're all f***ed up in some kind of way.
all the time takes a toll.
Yeah,
So,
hot.
I mean, what is like the ethical way to do this? To have kindness for someone that's going through something difficult, but
I'm
is
not gonna
making
have
bad
kindness
decisions,
for her.
but also hold people accountable, because it feels like we're going to those extremes there, right? Like we're either
Metric
looking
has
the
to be
other
hurting
way.
people. It has to be victims.
Well,
And I think that there are in
yeah.
this case. I think that
Who is the victim? Who is the victim?
$100,000 of money.
I'm
that
a
was
victim.
thrown away.
Me?
Yeah.
I'm a victim.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's not just you. It's every single trans person who has to make a GoFundMe in the future. And people go, well, where's my money going this time? I thought this was going to someone whose life was in danger, and they spent it on a GoPro.
Yep.
I think it's a little. I hear what you're saying. I think the long-term answer for trans healthcare cannot be GoFundMe. So I think it's a
No,
little
but
bit
it is
of a-
right now.
yes.
That's the current state.
It's not about, okay, listen, Brianna. It's not about trans healthcare at this very moment. It is about Keffals and how she is up your cause by acting the way she is acting. And none of y'all calling her out.
I think that's
very.
I think
It
that's
survives off of goodwill.
Yeah.
I think it's more than just money. It's the perception of a community that you claim to advocate for. Look, I'll say this from right now, okay? Like, people like Osama bin Laden, right? Like, they're bad Muslims. We all can agree, right? But they were just terrible people to begin with. I think activists like Muslims that ultimately harm. I think anybody that advocates, right, versus just being shitty is bad enough. Because an advocate or somebody that tries to make your community look better, but inadvertently keeps falling into the same traps that makes you look worse than ever before, is ultimately even more of a harm than an actual piece of shit to begin with, right? That's my problem with like Keffals. Yes, I have empathy for drug abuse. Don't get me wrong, I do. And I feel like a lot of your empathy comes from the fact that you were more friendly with her at some point. That is what I'm hearing. But I think that just because we're friends with people, I think that honestly, that as hard as it sounds and as painful as it is, the people that were once friends should be the hardest, right? Like Mama Max, for instance, you know, I made a big up trusting that guy. That's why I went even harder in policing that and trying to get that situation resolved or try to resolve it in the best possible way.
Yeah.
Because you're in a situation where you're more connected to this than I'm ever going to be connected, or anybody else in this call. And yeah, you can have empathy. Look, she's going, and I don't wish ill will on anybody, okay? I do, however, wish that she ends up paying back that money, or she ends up, in some capacity, paying back the people that she has set back, in the grand scheme of things, right? Because the core end of that video was most trans people just want to live. You've inadvertently made their life harder than any other controlled or any opposition. That's the real problem here, right? And it shouldn't take somebody from outside that community who has an autistic, once you have a topic on your dartboard, you're finishing it 100%. There's a reason. This Keffals thing was in my head for months. I had to finish it. I was literally a writer's block until I finished it. Part of me, people say, man, you must have gotten a bag off of transphobia. No, I have a job outside. Trust me, the money that I made.
You probably made more money off the PlayStation video the next day than you did
exactly,
on
100%. You promise. So for me, this isn't the idea of that. For me, it's the idea of actual salient justice, right? And I think it pains me from a personal level to see a group of people that have such high hopes, that want to be recognized, that just want to live their life, who have to constantly feel like shit because there's an activist in their camp that just keeps setting the fuck back.
Okay, I've got a hard question for you, Mutahar. This is a really tough question. Okay, you think Keffals is a bad activist. Who are the good activists in the trans community that you can point to? People above board, doing good work, not being reactive, not screaming about thumbnails, able to really think about public policy?
That's a question that I am not too much of an expert.
ContraPoints is good. I agree. Yeah.
Blair White.
Not Blair White.
Of course, Matt would throw Blair White up there.
Hold on. Blair White is crazy. She's a drama queen, but she also talks to a right-wing constituency in a way that the left does not, and I think that actually has a ton of value.
Well, here's the other thing.
Tipster's a good one.
Okay, all jokes aside, right? If you ask me, ContraPoints now would come to my head.
So this is the reason I asked this. Is I think it's a problem. It's a really.
Can you fix your mic? You're kind of drifting.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm fucking disconnected here. But no, the other thing is if we're ContraPoints, that's the question we brought up because we're not in the community, but you are in the community. So the thing is,
I think there's a real lack of leadership. I think there's a
who would be an activist right now that you would put up?
I think Aaron Reed does good work directionally. I think Alejandra is a hot mess. I think she's terrible. I think Jessie Gender is just the worst. I think it is person after person after person that's elevated in this community that ends up being extremely bad for the community because it's not about trying to accomplish any public policy. It's all about their hashtag brand. So I hear what you're saying about Keffals, and I think it's a fair critique, but this is a pattern that's through the entire community. And just to really talk about structural issues of why this happens, a lot of this is because the gay rights groups that should have been building real trans leaders for the last 20 years, they're just not interested.
Yeah, you caught the tipster diss. You caught it. Good job. Yeah. Nick threw in Tipster in the ring.
In it. HRC is not producing trans leaders. Land Illegal is barely funded. There's just not a pipeline to develop people to become credible spokespeople on this. So it's that failure that causes a whole.
Because y'all haven't been calling people out. You have let them run wild and get away with everything. You know how you clean house? You literally clean it. You call the people out who need to be called out. You hold people accountable instead of letting them run wild and take $100,000 from their followers, saying they're going to use it for a legal fund, and they ended up buying GoPros and giving it to their friends and buying a $2,000 gaming chair.
Whole panoply of YouTube stars to fill that gap because no one else is doing this.
Well, Philosophy Tube's going to be in Star Wars, so
I'm excited about that. I'm excited about that.
Well, I think the one concern is I don't know if it's the YouTube algorithm that forces this way, but the reason why we're just only talking about Keffals is because she has made herself the Jesse Jackson of trans. That's the only thing you got to figure out. That's the
Kay says, I can name a dozen real-life good trans activists. You don't need to be a streamer talking about change to be an activist. There's people actually changing shit, but they don't run on clout. 100%, Kay. Kay, you have got the comment of the day. Let me tell you. 100%. Absolutely. They're actually out there doing something. You are correct, Kay.
Only thing that we're going to try to find a way, she made herself a lightning rod. That was her own thing. That was literally it. So this is why we're talking. Nobody else is in that position. Nobody else has even claimed to jump into that position too. So that's
another reason why I have a problem with Keffals. I feel like Keffals used that opportunity to exploit people. Yep. There's no figurehead. I'll be the figurehead.
Oh God.
Keffals is really good at. I think at her best, she can really see a controversy and drag some drama out of it. I think it's a skill it's too bad she can't use it for good. Yeah.
She like the Kiwi Farms, the Drop Kiwi Farms thing. That's not the work of an amateur.
That's true. I've been working on that for a really long time. She got it done where me and a whole bunch of political professionals completely failed.
No, she didn't. She didn't get it done. She didn't get it done at all. It went down for like a day? Maybe a few days. She didn't get it done. And let's be honest, why was she trying to get it done? She wasn't trying to get it done for the quote-unquote good of the internet. She was trying to get it done because they held her dirty secrets.
What, did she get it done?
Did she do that? Well, that's
I mean,
fair point.
it's still there. If anything, it's more resilient than ever.
Fair point. She dealt, let's phrase it this way, she dealt a blow that a lot of serious people have been trying to deal for a very long time and took it down.
Well,
So
it's funny. She's great at doxing people in the DMs.
All right.
The thing about the Kiwi Farm stuff, and this is one of the things I'll address too, because I've seen people say like I ran cover for Kiwi Farms or something. Look, at the end of the day, Kiwi Farms to me, I've said on the video, this is why I don't tweet out anything, because it's like you gotta watch the video. Like anybody that's been shit on me for this, I condemn their behavior, right? Like transphobia, none of this shit has to pop in place in my mind. That being said, I did stand by my definition of what they do is functionally legal. Right? Like even the definition of doxing, right? For instance, if we're going back just the U.S. version of it, if they're just cataloging shit they see in the white pages, that's not doxing. I compared it to the other website Zero, where the group actually maliciously using U.S. servicemen credentials or U.S. federal agent credentials to source information out of like federal databases. That's a problem. That's illegal behavior. So these are distinctions I make out. Now, as far as the website goes, yeah, shutting down Kiwi Farms and delivering a blow is one thing, but being a former cybersecurity agent, right? Like the idea of looking at what the site is now, even if there are less users, right? It is a much more resilient site than ever before. And some of the technologies on it, I wouldn't even doubt have been spread to other, more dangerous websites, I would say. Or more.
Fraggy, Keffals is definitely worse than Creepshow are. Absolutely, she is. 100%. 100%.
Insanely wild websites that I won't name. So this is what's happened out of the campaign. It was shut down briefly, brought it back on tour, and now it has a front-facing clear web domain that is easily accessible.
They got $100,000 in donations for their own legal fund now, by the way, which I'm sure is not going to GoPros.
And you know what? It would still happen. It would still happen if Kiwi Farms didn't exist. It would still happen if those other sites didn't exist. Again, let's remember, it wasn't Kiwi Farms that did it to Keffals. It was the other site. Wasn't Kiwi Farms. Kiwi Farms had information on her.
Well, it's like, when I mentioned the Kiwi Farms, and like you said when you messaged me, we're all from like old school fortune.
Yeah.
There are far more insane boards out there that I feel like the energy could have been more directed at towards, right? Which is one of the videos. I'm like, look, not been covered for Kiwi Farms, but look, if I had to tier list the level of hell that existed on the internet, the website that actually caused the damage should have been down. The problem that I also have, and I probably should actually mention this in the video, is that when you don't take down the offending website, right? And in this case, we'll call it website Zero again. That website gains more power, you know, in the sense that they know that, oh, they're just going to go after the other website, blah, 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 because we're still safe. That's my only other concern, like, with this situation. The other thing is, look, I get it. Your information is out there. People say really wild stuff all the time, too. And I'm not going to run the oppression Olympics over here because we're all content creators. There's a good chance all of our personal information is already out there.
All of it.
When I did deep web browsing, there was an entire 3-4 dark web pages. Literal pages, not the farms, the pages, where they just put all of my information up there, right? No jokes right there. People will do up shit. I worry about family. There have been previous tenants for older homes that I've lived in that I've had awkward calls with because shit has happened. People have sent stuff to the house. Have shown up. I get it. There's a lot of bad stuff on the internet. There's a lot of bad people out there, for sure.
Sure.
With that also completely said, though, it's like what these websites do, what is, I get shutting them down. I just feel like championing them being shut down and using it as like, it aggravates them.
Burn me on a
Yes!
fucking cross here. I understand. Look, this shit's got my fucking address on it too. I understand what you're saying, but like, let's not pretend that 99% of the discussion on Kiwi Farms isn't just people like laughing, calling people fat, and talking about YouTube drama. Like the vast majority of it is literally just a message board.
Yeah.
I agree with that. And I think like the long-term policy solution, like I've talked to Catherine Clark, Congresswoman Catherine Clark, who's in charge of the DNC nowadays, a lot about this. Like the long-term policy solution of this is we need law enforcement to understand that some of these death threats in the digital age, it's not benign, and we need for them to like prosecute some of these cases, right? Like I think that, you know, if you want to call someone the T word or some slurs online, tough shit. That's a free speech issue. You know, if you're repeatedly telling someone in graphic terms how you were going to them, I actually think there should be some law enforcement out there that should look at that, see if there's a criminal case and pursue it. I think if you introduced consequences into the equation for the most extreme cases, I think that would do a lot of good here. So, you know, it's really frustrating that activists are putting this place of like trying to shut down a website because the FBI can't be bothered to hire 100 agents to do this, right?
You know what the problem is, Brianna? Here is the problem. Your activists online are literally quite saying the shit that they say, and they're doing the shit that they do for clicks and views. It's not for activism. It's for clout.
I think, but I think like at the core of it, one of the big concerns, again, I'll reiterate, is like Kiwi Farms, look, I don't agree with whatever they're doing over there. Condemn, obviously. Null, he has a situation in place, and Null's not a perfect individual, but it's a website that has far more rules about that extreme end that we're talking about, the extreme end of threats.
Sure.
Don't touch the cow mentality, so to speak, whatever happens over there. But there are websites like Website Zero, for instance, where Vile was operating, right? Where Vile was putting out information. Vile, who actually commits illegal actions like using federal agents, that should be the website targeted. And it's not as if the FBI can't do anything. They literally arrested a couple of their operators because of the levels of illegal crime that they were doing.
It's not like it's your situation. I'm telling you, like, well, you had a big problem with Kiwi Farms, but you should be talking about this more important website. That's why I think Keffals is malicious. She had a problem with this more important website, and she's fighting Kiwi Farms anyways.
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
I can't.
The problem was the other website. It wasn't Kiwi Farms. Why did she go after Kiwi Farms? Go look. It's there. They knew who she was. She wanted that erased because they were more accessible for people to get to.
So I think
and to not disclose it even after, you know, like
the criticism is very fair. I mean, you know, there was
like
political.
The reason why she wanted the Kiwi Farms gone was not necessarily because of the harassment. She wasn't receiving the harassment from Kiwi Farms in the sense that what we were told in the public, she was receiving it primarily from Website Zero and the Vile group that was actually the one doxing her.
Yeah.
This whole thing is a case of disinformation. There's 4 different versions of the story of what happened on the day she was swatted.
Yep.
There's what website was going after her. There's now a dispute on whether she used the money to get away from an abusive partner or use it to get away from people from Kiwi Farms, both of which are stories that she herself has told. Right? So at what point do I not see this as like, oh, this is a person who's obviously gone through a lot and they're making a lot of like extremely bad decisions, or what point is this person just bad? They're just malicious. They're taking advantage of the good faith they know they can get from a community that doesn't often critique their own.
She has continuously lied to her audience this entire time.
I mean, I just saw a DM 5 minutes ago. I don't think this is super relevant to like the discussion that we're specifically having, but it's talking about Destiny's wife. Remember when Keffals like walked up and confronted Destiny's wife at TwitchCon? Here's a message from Clara. If I ever get pressed on this again, I'll say, look, I don't think I did that. But even if I did, it was a long time ago, and I've grown a lot as a person. That's such a funny response to give to people. Like, I mean, this is a person who knows what they're doing. They have like,
I guess this is like where we all.
She's malicious. Keffals is a malicious person.
Need to kind of agree, and this is like where I don't think there's any form of like misconception. The problem with her portrayal of this whole drop Kiwi Farm stuff was, in my research in this entire situation, there are 2 websites that I looked at. Okay, Kiwi Farms for a lot of the archive material, the archive links, not sourcing them as a actual source, but because the archive links that I pulled up to see screenshots on Twitter. Right, Twitter is still the primary source of a lot of those tweets because that's where they were made. The other website, Website Zero, was where I found all of the information regarding accounts, information, Uber Eats orders, and personal information, not just Clara but the people surrounding her. Mm-hmm. The focus was put on Kiwi Farms, and this is the reason it was put on there is because she found it convenient to launch the nuke against there. Because if she had gotten Kiwi Farms completely taken down, the video I made cataloging her terrible behavior could not have existed because there would be no archive. We can't pull up those archives.
There you go. Mutahar saying it himself a lot more eloquently than I can say it.
Kiwi Farms, and this is the reason it was put on there is because she found it convenient to launch the nuke against there. Because if she had gotten Kiwi Farms completely taken down, the video I made cataloging her terrible behavior could not have existed because there would be no archive. We can't pull up those archives on mainstream platforms because a lot of those platforms take down the worst of content, or they can easily operate mass flagging operations on these sites. You can't do that on Kiwi Farms. So if she was really genuine, and I would have supported her had she gone against Website Zero with all of the bravado, instead she chose Kiwi Farms because it satiated her personal benefit to get rid of all the bad will against her. And this goes for anybody that was.
And there you go. That's why Keffals went after Kiwi Farms.
It's critical. I've had some of the biggest, I shouldn't even be saying this, I had a big creator reach out to me on a private DM, and I could have easily slapped them back with some real saucy shit that was sourced right from the farm because all they did was archive it. The reason why a lot of people wanted this site gone is because it held their worst skeletons in the closet, stuff that would consistently deconstruct their narratives they put out. That's it.
Do you think that's it? I think that's so cynical. I really,
because here's the thing, the Kiwi Farms is going to be shitting on me. I can't, look, people will call me a street shitter all day on Kiwi Farms. It's not something that burns me. I've been called that a million. I've been called that since I was a kid.
Sure.
But going on, it might even contain a lot of these sites contain my personal information, but that's not a reason that I go up agaagainst them. I try not to give that as much attention as I can.
But Mutahar, this is my issue with your analysis, and I think this is a problem that permeates the space. Like, I have this problem. It's like there's how can I put this? It's almost like sooner or later you're put into a category, and then everything you say or do is like filtered through this bad faith lens, right? It's seen in this certain way that just makes you assume the worst. And I think
I'll give you an example of why I don't want Kiwi Farms, like why I don't have my like death wish against it. Why wasn't like why this was an indifferent thing? Is because I never took money from my community, and that evidence exists somewhere on a server somewhere.
Sure.
You know?
I hear what you're saying.
It doesn't matter. Like I could die today and not have to worry about anything bad. I don't have any like me a million times all day every day. You'll never find any evidence of me talking, salaciously to any minor.
I literally have never read my Kiwi Farms thread because I behave in a way that I tell the truth. I behave with integrity, and I'm sure they've got stuff on there that's embarrassing because I'm a human and I do embarrassing stuff. I don't care. But what I'm saying to you is like the bad faith, the really dark interpretation, she's cynically trying to destroy evidence. And I think like the good faith.
That's literally what she was doing, Brianna. That's literally what she was doing. Y'all have got to clean house. Because it's not just Vosh and Keffals over there. It's not just Vosh and Keffals. They're not the only ones with dirty little secrets. There's others over there too. And y'all just let them get away with it and don't call out your own. Y'all don't self-police and now you got a pickle. Now you're in a pickle. Because what happens when the next one starts to gets called out? Vosh got caught what he was doing. Keffals is now caught. There's more over there.
Interpretation would be, here's some assholes, they're harassing her. Keffals does have a temper. I've got a temper. She wanted to strike back and destroy them. I think that.
But she's doing it by wearing like the trauma equivalent of blackface. She's like recounting all the stories.
If that's
she's
good
talking
or
about like
bad.
dead people.
I'm saying there's another possibility of what her motives are.
I know, but she's talking about dead people in comparison to her own story that didn't happen. You understand? Like she's like pulling up people who killed themselves and using them as examples why we need to push her story that's not real to take down a website that didn't specifically harm her the way she's claiming.
Sure.
And not actually going after the real perpetrator.
Sure.
And then I asked her about it, and she told me, "Well, I don't think there's enough momentum." So you're thinking about this like it's an op? Is this like a business move? Because that's how she spoke to me. That's what I got from this.
Yeah.
Is that this is all fake? It's all fabricated.
I'd have to look more into this story to say.
To be honest with you, Brianna, actually watch the whole video. Don't watch that last quarter like I told you to. Watch the entire video.
I watched the whole video. I watched it twice.
Well, you said you listened to it. You said you listened to it and didn't watch it.
I did listen to it.
You need to sit down and actually watch it with your eyes. Because what he shows, you're going to see that she has been a constant liar this entire time, and she has played the out of every single one of y'all.
So to be fair, Mutahar, you cribbed a lot of that stuff from Destiny's video, which I've seen a lot, or at least it contained the same information. So that was part of why I listened to it.
Well, one of the reasons, usually I'm like one of those guys where I'm like, I don't care if you watch or listen to my videos, but that's a video that I highly recommend you watch because that was the one video where it's like we saw screenshot after screenshot after screen.
You see how she tried to worm out of that? Well, I watched it. No, you didn't watch it. You listened to it. You need to sit down with your own eyes and watch it.
Screenshot. And I was meticulously going and slapping those up on the screen just so that, because my whole thing is, look, I don't like to make a video that's like bad faith, or I don't like to make a video where I can go with a narrative that I can't necessarily prove. Look, videos of mine, I could probably have an inconsistency or two because, again, not perfect, and obviously this situation involved other writers, other researchers. This is the first time I actually have to like work with a few people to make sure we were all checking each other. So, there may be an error or two, but so far in the last 2 days, there hasn't been anything that's been found out. But, hey, look, we dug up everything that we can to put on the screen, and we showed that it was pristine, untouched archive links, just so people can read through and see a proper timeline. Because I really feel like she has been so bad faith in talking about the situation. There were clips from the H3 podcast that I showed where she wasn't pressed hard enough in talking about these situations at all. And she needed to have been pressed at the time. And this is a situation where now the story is amassed together in an hour and 33 minutes. And I feel that it's in a perfect way where nobody has to sift through 400 pages of like a Kiwi. You don't have to touch the Kiwi Farms if you think your computer is going to get like transphobic.exe through it in some capacity, okay? You can watch a video and get it all right there. So this is a situation where I really think like we've built a case against this one person, and I don't feel like anybody in this community should be running a cover. If this was the gaming community, and this was like the Mama Max of the community, there's no way anybody can defend the guy, you know?
I hope it doesn't come across as...
Like I said before, how do you think the commentary community would have treated one of their own doing the same things that Keffals has done? It's not a trans issue. It's a shitty behavior issue. Could you imagine someone in this community doing what Keffals did? Oh my God.
As I'm defending her today, I mean, I feel like I've said over and over, I think there's some really fair criticism here. God, maybe it's just, like she's going after me the other day publicly on Twitter, and I just let it go. And I chalk it up into my head as, she's going through some tough stuff. Maybe that's just my own
Did you see the screenshot that I leaked?
Yes, I did. I was really pissed off about that.
Because it's funny, because I saw you defending Tipster and them, and I'm just wondering...
Did I defend Tipster?
I think so. In the past.
In the past, I have.
Well, that's what I mean, in the past, and it's like, I wonder what they were thinking about you.
Yeah, it really hurt my feelings, to be honest with you.
Well, I feel like I've common ground on that one.
I feel like I've genuinely tried to be the best friend to her I can, and I think that really made me feel hurt, to be honest.
Brianna, guess what? your best friend, or the
She's
best
not
friend
my
that you
best
could be, guess what? The best friend that you could be to her, she f***ed you over and lied to you for years, homegirl. Okay? Just
I
let you
really
know,
feel like
she
if you want to
lied
be
you.
empathetic towards somebody, it's not about like she doesn't have to respond to anything in the video. I really don't. I don't care. But I saw her tweet about that shit. Nobody is begging for any response. Trust me. I said my piece. I move on to the next thing that sticks in my head or it's on my content dartboard. That's how my brain works. That's how my ideas work. That's it. I don't care so much for a response. I do think the community as a whole, the trans community, should be holding her to accountability over how she's acted. How she's ran some of these ranch catboy servers, and more importantly, how she's actually been operating, like, you know, her money, her GoFundMe. Because look, me and you have both given her money. I gave her like $5. Okay, so I want to see an accountability spreadsheet on that money. Because if it wasn't going towards a legal case with the London police in a way that it should have, then we've got an issue going on. We've got a big problem.
I agree, and I think there's potentially legal liability there. So there it is. Mutahar, before I jump off, I just want to say your last video, you were talking about 501 for a C4 tax law, which is something I deal with a lot. If you ever do a video where you need more clarity on that, I can hook you up with a compliance person, because there was some stuff in that I thought was a little shaky.
Anytime.
Fair enough.
Brianna, before
Yes.
you leave, there's a trans person that's been waiting in call. They've been wanting to talk to you for a while. Is there any way I can put them in?
Oh my God, Reese came in and he floored Brianna. And Brianna didn't want to talk to him.
So you can have a conversation with them.
What they want to talk about? What they want to talk about?
I'm not too sure what they. I know they're aggravated by you, but
If
I just
I'm
feel
on
like.
trial, I feel like
Well, no, I just feel like I don't know a whole lot about this. I feel like the whole thing we've been talking about trans stuff for so long. I mean, the point of view of a trans person, bring them in, talk to you.
Sure.
If it goes awry, you know, you can always just leave or tell me to kick them out. I'll do it or whatever.
Sure, let's do it.
All right, cool. Reese, you're on.
Hello.
Hello. Reese, you had some issues with Brianna?
Yes, I do. So to start with, you are really, really, really like you're being so like I don't know what the word is. But, sorry, I'm already pissed off. You're going around the main point of everything. Like we try and say something about how Keffals is being shitty and like talking to minors about HRT. Then you say, oh no, it's about the politics behind it. Right now, this whole Mutah's video was about Keffals. It's not about the politics to do with this.
Yes.
You know, you keep on deflecting and going on to these other things. And like I'm trying to say as well that like because she's gone through trauma and addiction, that gives her something like a little bit of grace. I'm not being funny, but we are trans. We should know to call out these people when they're doing shit.
I think I've said on this repeatedly that she needs to be held.
No, but you're still giving her excuses for shit. You're still saying, oh, she's had trauma, she's had this, she's had that, she's had kiki with. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You need to listen to everyone who's talking, not just your like her and Keffals' little cult. You need to listen to actual other trans people who aren't licking masks. Because it seems like that's what you're doing. You just keep on giving justifications for her.
Can I please talk? If my opinion on Keffals is more nuanced than yours, I can't pretend that it's not more nuanced. It's my genuine opinion. I think I've answered questions
You've got to stand up for people like us.
I'm going to finish
for people like us. You keep on fucking interrupting me, dude. Like for real. Like you got to stand up for people like us and stop. Just because Keffals is your buddy, you can't say, oh, just because she's she's got stuff going on. So what? We call out these people when they fuck up. On pussyfoot around just because she's trans, just because we're trans. It doesn't matter. Anything that makes it. Stop interrupting me. If anything, that should make us call her out more than other people because we're not going to sit around and take this shit. With you people, you saying stuff like this, it's making all of us look fucking terrible. And it's we just sit and take this shit. We're sick of it.
I hear what you're saying. I think that anger is very fair. I think it's a point of view that needs to be out.
And I can tell you, Reese is not the only one that feels that way. It doesn't help when you have an asshole like Keffals running around doing the shit that she's doing. She's not helping her community. She's not. Yeah, exactly. Surprise. Trans people don't all share the same opinions. Why? Because they're human beings.
There, I think Keffals needs to hear that. I can't pretend. I cannot
All right, Reese, you gotta let
pretend.
Brianna respond here.
Yeah.
Let Brianna.
I can't pretend that my point of view is not what my point of view is. What I can do here, I think I've answered the questions that have been asked to me today fairly. I think I've hit them head on. And like we're talking about the need to police the community, which I fully agree we desperately need. Do you think we do that by like leaping to the angriest conclusions? Or do you think it's like sitting down and talking this stuff with a little bit of nuance like adults? I actually think that gives it a lot more credibility if you do that. So maybe we just have different personalities, but it's just genuinely who I am.
People have tried to do that in the past. Don't act like you're the first person now to be saying stuff about Keffals. People like me, I've been saying for years how much of a shitty-ass person that she is, but it's only now that people are saying stuff because she's done such a bad thing that no one can turn a side eye to it anymore. I'm not being funny. People have been calling this shit out for years. For years. And you people aren't listening to it because you're part of the Catboy cult.
Catboy cult? I don't think I'm part of a Catboy cult.
It is, man. Come on. Like, I'm not being funny, but like, you just... These are
Keffals is someone
who
I
sits around.
kind of know. It's not like streaming is just like a bonus mission thing that I do with my job. Like this is not my job. Like Keffals is not the center of my life. She's just.
So why are you trying to act like you're like an authority and like you're trying to give justifications and reasons for everything that she's done? If you're not part of it, then why are you even like trying to say shit about it?
I think if
I know that I'm fucking no one. I'm trying to talk to you about it, and you're trying to make this whole bullshit justification.
I don't think I am.
Well, I'm not being funny, but you're trying to say that like she's had addiction problems because of Kiwi Farms. That's giving a justification of shit. Is that not?
I think context is not justification.
That's not
I'm
context.
saying this plays into
You literally
my...
said,
That's
oh, you've got to
not-
go someplace because she's
You're flaming at me in a really immature way. So I'm going to
You
answer your
literally
question.
said-
I'm going to
you
answer your
literally said-
question.
Oh, let Brianna
like
finish.
an
Oh
adult.
my god, can I
like a
pause
stone
it?
adult.
No, you were giving her excuses. Those sounded like excuses. When you started going into her trauma and her addiction, that sounded like excuses. That's why I will literally sit here and say, 10 toes down, I don't care about her trauma. I don't care about her addiction.
Has an addiction issue, like talking about that context, that's not excusing it. You're doing the exact same thing that the trans rights extremists do, where everything is good or bad or black or white or up or down, and we just need a smarter conversation top to bottom. I am not defending Keffals. I'm trying to explain how I came to my assessment of what's going on with her and what the path forward is.
I have trauma. I didn't make a GoFundMe and stick most of it up my nose.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
Like, you're trying to give justifications.
I'm not justifying.
Oh my god, this is just...
They sound like justifications. They 100% do.
Is there anything else you want to say, Reese?
Honestly, I'm sick of trans people like this trying to talk over the rest of us. I'm sick of it. I'm genuinely sick of it. Like, this person can't go around thinking that she's like, just because she's Keffals' friend, that she knows everything about what's going on. And like, I'm not being funny, but Muta's video was brilliant. Brilliant.
I enjoyed
like,
it.
You haven't listened. You haven't. How can you agree if you haven't watched it properly? You haven't listened to. You haven't watched the whole part about Catboy Ranch properly, have you?
Okay.
Because remember, Brianna didn't know that Keffals ran the Twitter for Catboy Ranch. I had to remind her that yes, Keffals ran that Twitter.
Maybe you should watch it.
Yep, I should.
And know about what your little buddy does. And actually call that shit out when it happens.
Okay.
All right, I think we've reached an impasse at this point. We're just going to go around in circles.
Good old beavers. Good old beavers.
This is how the trans community fixes itself. You just need to scream until all the bad people go away. That's how we're going to fix it.
No, that's not how it
Great,
works.
Keffals leaving win? Just saying.
All right. Well, Brianna, did you have anything else you wanted to say?
No, thanks for having me on. I didn't know it was going to be this. But,
Yeah, neither did I.
yeah.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Thanks for coming on. We didn't know it was going to turn out to be this.
I just didn't want this lie to stand where that wasn't my YouTube channel, so I needed to correct that. So.
Come on over to commentary, Beckett. Leave Twitch poll. It'll be great over here. Nothing will happen.
Brought him with you.
I didn't bring him with you. You put the fucking tree in, mother.
Followed you. They followed you, Beckett. Okay.
Listen, both you and Xylie are responsible for this shit, and I take no accountability. If Keffals can take no account, I was traumatized. None of this is my fault. All of you. I'm sat there typing to the
People
ghost.
of you. People gonna come for
I'm
you.
just like I've got PTSD.
My poor bestie got traumatized. Alright, so Brianna Wu put out this tweet at 6:51 in the morning. Last night I did a panel with Keemstar, Some Ordinary Gamers, and Nicholas DeOrio. I showed up to talk about trans healthcare policy for minors, but Keffals became the primary focus. Well, the whole point was Keffals. I was trying to give a nuanced view, but I realized it came off as defending actions I have no interest in defending. I woke up this morning and have clarity. I have given her the benefit of the doubt at every single turn. I've tried to be the best friend to her that I can, because I've also struggled with rehab, extreme death threats, and mental health issues from online harassment. But like she does with everyone else, the friendship is a one-way street. It's stupid to put any credibility on the line for someone literally planning to betray me in the back channel. She's getting more than enough heat right now, and I'm not going to add to it. But I'm done with this. Destiny was 100% right about her. Fuck Keffals. I don't know. All I know is Keffals, you're now reaping what you sowed. And I don't feel sorry for you. I don't feel sorry for you one bit.